As I said, we will be talking about the issue of zero tolerance for what do you call it? I mean, FGM, generally female genital mutilation. And tomorrow happens to be the day that has been set out to mark this particular important day. International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. However, we will be having the conversation in the studio, but before that, we will be speaking to Amnesty International Acting Director, Mr. Frank Doyin. He will be helping us through the conversation, as it is more gender-based issue where female, generally, because it is more of like that aspect of it. It is targeted at women, young females and everything. So they are into this course, championing the course whereby they try and they actually do get results where people try to understand the dangers involved in practicing such an inhumane act, if you ask me. So we are trying to connect him so we can talk to him. But before that, let me bring in my colleagues. Mame Abba Amwamenta is seated right here, as well as Hafiz Gunu, so we can start conversation. And possibly when we establish a connection with him again, we will bring him online. Okay, guys, how are you doing?
Doing great.
Great. Mommy?
Barry.
Yep.
I'm
Ready?
okay.
Nice. Hafiz?
Charlie.
Yeah, it's another day again.
Absolutely.
Excited, aren't you? It's Friday. I know. I can see the
What are you doing?
I can see the bliss
I'm not the one in a jalab.
designed all over your place. I mean, come on. No, really. Did you have to bring that up?
Since we are going there.
Yeah, he's not the one in a jalab.
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay, it's okay. It's
I
fine.
can do this all
No,
day.
it's fine. So tomorrow is International Day of Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. I mean, we've heard about this.
You said tolerance. Zero tolerance?
Zero tolerance. Yeah, zero. Thank you. Very, very important. Zero tolerance for female genital mutilation. And I mean, we will not be here tomorrow, so we're definitely going to be talking about it today, as is one of those important days that we are looking to mark. And I mean, some people have actually suffered it, unfortunately, and others are actually possible victims of it. Hopefully, early interventions, would actually come in between to prevent it from happening. Others definitely wouldn't see, because those who were engaged in the practice have actually stopped it. But then it's still an issue, because some would say it's still practiced under the cover of darkness. Hafiz?
Well, thank you very much. Female genital mutilation. Yes, well, in layman terms, some would say female circumcision and all. But I know it has its technical definitions of how, the partial or the complete removal of the external bits of the female genitalia and all. But personally, in the grand scheme of things, I think it's largely a barbaric act.
Right.
That violates trust and also generally aimed at, curtailing female sexuality.
Okay.
Now, the thing about it, I mean, for centuries, women have had to live under societal norms that generally, polices their bodies. Yes, as a woman, you don't exactly own your body. Certain decisions are made for you.
Okay.
Yes, it's almost like back in the day, you had people wake up and just find new ways of trying to make life difficult for women in the societies, and it's something that we need to call to question. Now, I mean, we've had situations or in societies where women, as a woman, infibulation, that is, a closed vulva, is seen as clean, feminine, and polite in certain ways. Yes, and in societies where, as a woman, where you are supposed to, urinate without even making noise, because it is seen as feminine and all that. So we've seen some of these things happen in all kinds of societies. But then again, when FGM comes to question, a lot of the time, there's a tendency to try to make it an African thing. And let's try to distance ourselves from that conversation, because I mean, in the 19th century,
Right.
we are told that in the UK,
Uh-huh.
That is, yes, in the UK in the 19th century, it was even proposed. Yes, it was proposed and performed, when it comes to clitoral removal. Yes, as performed on women to actually, you know, prevent or remove diseases such as hysteria, lesbianism, and even masturbation.
Okay.
Yes. So the idea is that myths, taboos, and knowledge gaps are rife everywhere. So let's try not to make it an African thing. But then again, globally, yes, according to the stats, 200 million women are at risk of having undergone FGM, that is. And in Africa, for instance, you can have it is prevalent in at least 28 countries, we are told. And mostly in Africa, for instance, in the case of Somalia, it's quite a peculiar case because according to the stats, the UNICEF that is, 98% of the girls between the ages of 5 and 11 uh, have actually undergone such a procedure, which is very disturbing. Now, the peculiar thing about Somalia in all of this is the fact that even in the time of COVID, it's actually gotten worse, and that is because according to Plan International, the cartels are now going door to door, yes, trying to get people to present their daughters. So, I mean, while school is not in session, these are persons that are moving around and asking parents to present, the little girls they have in their custody so they could perform this act on them. So they are basically trying to use the fact that school is not in session. And it's cocoa season if you'd like. Now in Africa, especially in the sub-region, we are talking West Africa this time around. Uh, it is mostly prevalent in Cote d'Ivoire. Yes, it is estimated that nearly 40% of women in Cote d'Ivoire, as of 2006, have actually undergone this procedure as well. Now,
Right.
interesting thing about Cote d'Ivoire is the fact that they have actually also outlawed it since 1998. Yes, and in Ghana, we have outlawed the practice since 1994, and I think with culprits facing not less than 3 years in prison terms when it comes to the practice. Anyway, yes, a lot of reasons have been put forward as to why these things continue to happen, yeah, even though it has been made illegal and everything. And for some reason, we've had issues. Yes, a lot of reasons have been put forward as to why it's made illegal.
Okay.
And yes, some have put forward the fact that uh, a lot of the time women are being prepared
Okay.
or they are being prepared for marriage.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
and in societies where
Okay.
extramarital and premarital
Right.
sex are
All right,
frowned upon.
Hafiz, thank you
Yes.
very much. You've really spoken a lot and made some interesting points right there, which I want to ask some questions there. But before I bring in Mommy, we have Mr. Frank Doyin, Acting Director of Amnesty International Ghana, and he will be helping us understand, issues relating to female genital mutilation as one of the actually prevalent issues back in the days, but we don't know now if it is still in existence or not. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to the Africa Daily Show.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, sir. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well by the grace of God. Thank you. Hope you are as well.
I am, sir. I am. Okay, now tomorrow is International Day of Zero Tolerance for female genital mutilation. Now, this is something that's mostly targeted at young females and, of course, women generally. Now, your organization is also looking to, eliminate gender-based violence and everything. But let me ask you this: how prevalent is female genital mutilation now?
Well, thank you very much. I have the exact figures or the exact numbers, but I can tell you that the practice is still prevalent, particularly in certain communities in the northern part of Ghana.
Okay.
Right. So, and because of the laws prohibiting the practice, a lot of people who still undertake this heinous, shall I say, crime,
Okay.
try to do so undercover.
Right.
Right. So it's really, really difficult to put a hand on the exact, figure as we have it now. But it's a practice that is still going on in various communities, especially in certain communities in the northern part of Ghana.
Yeah. But let me ask you, is this actually more of an African act, or you can find this particular act in some parts of the world?
Well, generally, it is a practice that is prevalent in certain African countries.
Okay.
We have been told from our engagement with other civil society organizations that the practice occurs in other parts of the world, but predominantly there is something that happens, in most in Africa. You talk about Ghana, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Mali, and so on and so forth. So it's commonly found in some African countries.
That's great. Now, let's talk about these victims who actually sometimes fall victims of this, malpractice. How do you, when you come into contact with them, how do you rehabilitate them? How do you bring them back to that, state that they have actually found themselves at that point?
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we don't have rehabilitation centers.
Okay.
Or shelters where we keep such victims. And so our work is mainly focused on raising awareness,
okay,
and also educating people, especially in the communities where the practice is still happening as a form of a sociocultural practice.
Right.
But then our recommendation has always been, for the strict enforcement of the law, so that we don't even have to wait for the practice to occur or to continue for us to talk about rehabilitation. Okay. It's rather unfortunate that this practice is still going on in some countries, despite the fact that we have various laws, that prohibit the practice.
Okay.
Our constitution, as you may know, addresses issues of human dignity.
Right.
Specifically, Article 15 talks about, the dignity of all persons, being invaluable.
Right.
Including women and girls,
right.
Even though the Constitution does not specifically address issues of female genital mutilation,
okay.
it talks about prohibition of torture, and torture, as we know, inflicts severe pain,
okay.
On the individual.
Right.
It's a form of a cruel and inhuman and degrading treatment. And so the process of helping the victims to come out of the trauma, the pain, the agony,
right.
and the effects that they suffer from this, it's such a long process. It starts with first identifying the victims in the various communities and then trying to help them, to recover through counseling,
okay.
And also engagement with parents,
right.
and people within the environment where these issues happen. So
right.
apart from raising awareness, the other thing that we do is education.
Okay.
Because we think that the education will go a long way to prevent this practice.
Right.
Many people do this, those who are perpetrators of this practice,
okay.
do so in the name of culture, but then, so we try to help them to understand that even if it is part of a cultural practice of a particular community, culture is dynamic.
It can change.
And must respond to changing needs and trends.
Right.
This has absolutely nothing to do with religion, because we have engaged with various religious leaders who have made it very clear to us that female genital mutilation is not a religious practice. So it has to do with the individual, behavior or misconduct in the various communities.
Right.
And taking victims through the process of rehabilitation is something that state institutions, must come on board to help. For example, the Ministry of Children and Social Protection can play a major role. The Department of Social Welfare can also play a major role in this exercise. But then, after everything is said and done, we think that the best way to address the situation is to prevent it.
Okay.
And one of the critical ways of helping to prevent female genital mutilation is by implementing or enforcing the laws that prohibit it.
Okay, now tell me, have you been met with resistance in terms of trying to educate some of these people who practice this act? Have you, by any chance, met any resistance where people are not willing to give it up for anything?
Well, our approach or strategy has always been engaging, with community leaders and opinion leaders, particularly in the communities that we have identified
Okay.
that this practice is still, ongoing.
Right.
And our engagement with them focuses mostly on education.
Right.
Trying to get them to understand that this practice is harmful. It results in death. It affects the rights of the victims, especially young people, to education.
Yeah.
It affects their right to health. It affects their rights to well-being in general. So with this approach, we have been able to make a lot of successes in terms of getting, people to understand and appreciate that it's a practice that we must all help to bring an end to.
Okay.
We have not been confronted, physically, by the practitioners. Sometimes it's even very difficult, to identify them.
Right.
In the communities which, they undertake such practices.
Right.
Of course, generally, the fact that the practice is still going on, is a strong indication that people have not come to terms with the provisions of the law.
Yeah.
And the need for us to collectively, stamp out this cruel and degrading treatment against women and children.
Right. Now, tomorrow is actually the day itself, International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. My final question: what are some of the events, or what are you doing tomorrow to further, enlighten the public about this danger of an act?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Over the years, we have been organizing public events, so seminars and workshops, and then engaging with people in communities. Unfortunately, this year, we are able to undertake or carry out any public event, precisely because of
COVID,
the situation of COVID.
Right.
Yes,
that's true.
So, engaging the general public through the power of the media, it's something that we are taking advantage of. And that is why we consider our engagement with you this afternoon as a unique opportunity for us to reach to the general community and also especially to address the issue in communities where they still occur. So even though we are not having any public events, we are still reaching out to the general public through the power of radio and television and through other media outlets. And we are very grateful to Africa Global Radio for this great opportunity given us. And we are always available, to engage or participate in any discussion that will lead to addressing issues of violence against women and children, and issues of torture and human rights violations in general.
Thank you very much for joining us on the show. We really appreciate your contribution, and we will definitely reach out if there are other follow-ups as well.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, and that was the acting director of Amnesty Ghana International, Mr. Frank Doyin. We would also establish contact with the Northern Regional Director of the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Units and get to see what are some of the things they actually do, what are some of the punitive measures they do. I mean, what they do generally when they find out or identify some of these victims right here. But before that, let me speak to Mame Abba Amwa Menta. Mame?
Barry.
Yeah, tomorrow is that day.
Yeah, FGM.
Yeah, FGM.
I thought in social media class.
Social media?
Sorry.
Social studies.
I'm always wearing half his.
I know, right?
Social media.
Exactly.
So I just looked at him and then social media just popped into my head. I mean, we're taught in social studies class that is the partial or total removal of some of the parts of the female genitalia. And according to the reasons they give, according to the reasons I learned growing up, it is supposed to make a woman chaste.
Yeah. You need to be reserved till you get married.
And I have a problem with that.
It's a big problem.
Chastity is a personal decision. Cutting off some parts of the female genitalia is not going to make a woman chaste.
Right.
But that aside, the people I have a problem with are the parents of these girls who give them
kids.
up.
Yeah.
Because if I come knock on, Hafiz was talking about how they're doing door to door now.
Okay.
If I come and I knock
door to door.
Yeah, because of the COVID, like kids are in the house.
Door to door.
In Somalia, where it hasn't been declared illegal, we've seen these things happen. Especially with the stats standing at 98% of girls between the ages of 5 and 11.
Right.
Just have undergone this practice. And so what it means is that they are cashing in on the fact that, well, school is not in session, and so parents, the kids are home now, so they come and then knock and then try to find out if indeed you have kids that are available for this procedure and everything.
What I don't get is, I come, I knock on your door. If you do not give me your child to circumcise, there's nothing I can do about it.
But you should understand something. These individuals, or if you're trying to blame the parents, they live in a certain society that operates in a certain way. Now, in most of these societies where you refuse as a parent, try to be the lone ranger, try to be the hero and try not to present your kid.
Right.
Okay. Understand that there are serious consequences. You are going to get ostracized. In certain communities, even burial, you are going to be treated as a man because, well, your clitoris wasn't removed.
Yeah.
So
okay. Okay.
Yes.
So this is in Somalia where it hasn't been illegalized. Let's talk about in countries where it is not legal to circumcise a female child.
In Ghana, it is not.
So
Since
why?
1994, I believe.
Yes.
Why would you carry your child and say, "This is my child, circumcise my child," but you know it's not legal? Don't they see the pain these children go through?
All right.
And there have been situations where people have died.
Okay. Let's also. I didn't cut you short. Sorry, Maud. Let me also speak to the Northern Regional Director of Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, right there, Northern Regional Coordinating Director, rather, and he will be helping us understand how they actually deal with issues such as this. Hello, good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the Africa Daily Show.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, and yourself?
I am okay. Now, tomorrow is a day where the whole world would actually mark a day, that is the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. Now, this is an element that actually falls under domestic violence against women generally. Now, I believe some of the cases that you encounter, defilement, rape, and what have you actually meet some of these cases whereby you realize that after the doctor, actually going through the victim and all of that, you identify the fact that sometimes that they've actually gone through this act, that they actually have victims of female genital mutilation. What do you do when you find out this issue?
Okay, thank you. I would say with issues of female genital mutilation, it is more of gender-based violence than domestic violence.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So in the northern region, I've been working here over the past 10 years, but we have never recorded any incident of female genital mutilation.
Right.
Yes. But as I was telling your colleague this morning, we have issues of rape and defilement that require medical examination of the victims.
Okay.
And sometimes you read the reports of the medical officers who examine these victims of rape and defilement.
Okay.
And you see the report on the lost labia majora or minora or the clitoris. And these are clear issues of female genital mutilation.
Right.
Yes.
So
these things don't get reported. And it's understood that they will not be reported because the children, the victims may have been taken through this ordeal while they were infants, minors, and the parents do these things to them.
Okay.
But, by the nature of the dependence, their dependence on their parents, nobody reports the issue until maybe they are raped or defiled before the hospital discovers this.
But as you made mention, this is a clear case of a gender-based violence, thing. But do you also look into that aside the defilement and whoever the perpetrator was? Do you also look at it and try to find out why this act and try to, prosecute people who actually practice this, acts undercover?
Yeah, I'm saying that we get information on this I mean, we make assumptions of this female genital mutilation from cases of rape and defilement.
Okay.
And these are issues you cannot hold the suspect that has raped or defiled for the mutilation.
Right, right.
Yes, you can only hold that suspect for having a sexual consent, for contact with the victim without consent.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
But
So we don't extend our prosecution or investigation to the parents of the children.
Okay.
And because in some cases, the parents may even not be those who are taking care of the children at the time they were raped or defiled.
Right.
Yes. So that is why we don't look at the female genital mutilation.
But should you come across a case like this, what are some of the steps you take to educate the people, or if it's about punitive measure they have to undergo? What are some of the things that you do?
No, it is part of our sensitization and education program.
Right.
That we conduct in the communities.
Okay.
Time and again. Anytime we have the opportunity. Yes, but the fact still remains that these things don't get reported.
They don't get reported.
And they don't get reported for the obvious reason that they are done by close relations of these children.
Right.
And worst of all, the victims of female genital mutilation may be underage. And may not even have the capacity of even reporting to any person.
Okay.
At the time that these things are done to them.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So should someone? My final question. So should someone report to you? What are the things you would? What are the steps that you may take on the perpetrator?
No, the perpetrator will be taken through the law. I mean,
right.
The law have processes by which will deal with you. So if we have a complaint of female genital mutilation,
right,
we will have a medical examination conducted and have a report from a medical officer to confirm it.
Right.
And then the perpetrator who is identified to us will be called to account.
Right. Right.
Yeah, will be called to account or justify why that thing should be done in law. And if the person is unable to justify, then the law will apply. Section 49 of the Criminal Offences Act will apply.
Okay. Thank you very much, DSP Emmanuel Horlotu. That's a Northern Regional Coordinator for DOVVSU. Thank you very much for joining us, and we would definitely follow up.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Okay. The show is Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio. We continue with our discussion right here. So, yeah, interesting submission right there. Close relatives and close stuff. I saw you like, really?
Yeah, when he started talking, and then he said they haven't recorded any cases of FGM in the no thing.
Yeah.
I was in my head. I was like, yay.
Yeah. But then
he moved on to talk about some children get defiled and then they go to the hospital for checks and you realize they are being cut.
It means they're actually doing it.
Then it's like it's still happening, but nobody's reporting it.
That's the thing. That is the thing, and that is where the danger is all lurking around.
You see, when Mami speaks, she makes it sound like so simplistic, like, okay, why are people still doing it? Look, understand something here. You live in a society that does certain things in a certain way.
Right.
Now, the thing about it is that, you see, for us here, you would sit and picture, a group where, they are holding a child down and cutting and it's all bloody and everything.
Yeah.
Now, what they sell to them is usually an initiation. Now, picture it this way. They tell them, even those that tell the kids, look, it's an initiation. It's a beautiful thing. It's just a step to something more. Exactly. Something more.
Let me continue being a child.
So, at the age of 5, between 5 and 10, 11, you have all this.
Okay.
I don't know. Your head is in the skies.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's something.
It's preparing you for.
It's something you're even looking forward to as a kid. So, because your idea of what exactly goes on is still, very limited. Only for you probably to walk in one day and you are held to the ground with your legs apart. You have, parts of you being cut without anesthesia. And even it's usually done without any medical training by the person doing it.
Yeah.
So it's not something they present as barbaric. No, it's something they
So
condition
rosy,
your
they
mind.
present it to you,
Exactly, they condition your
well
mind. towards.
packaged.
Well, I can only imagine how painful that will be, especially
Yeah.
without anesthesia, because I have been under anesthesia and I still felt the pain of whatever was being done to
So
me. So you
imagine-
can only imagine. But I mean, this is,
This is an
in
accident.
simplistic terms, barbaric.
Oh yeah.
And you see, the thing about it is that the experience of everyone is different.
Okay.
It's never the same because of the cutting. You know, the cutting is usually done in various types. It's either they take a part of it or everything. So the cutting determines how you experience it. The age at which you also go through it. Okay, some went through it when they were older. Some were actually kids and didn't know anything and expected their parents to protect them. Okay, and even the setting. Some they were held at home and it was done. Some it had to be forced. A lot of factors come into play, and so you don't have a one size fits all experience for everyone when it comes to FGM. So it's a bigger issue that we are looking at.
Right.
But then in Ghana, yes, we know it had been abolished in 1994.
Okay.
Yes, Ivory Coast did the same in 98. But we are told in Ivory Coast, you still have a population of about 40% of the women that still have had
Till
an
date.
experience. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And like I keep saying, and I mean, yes, when they say it's Africa, it's not African thing. It's
Yeah.
not. Yes, in the past, and these things are further cemented because there isn't knowledge because of the myths and taboos surrounding a woman's sexuality.
Yeah.
There was very limited knowledge about how a woman's body operates, and we've seen it how in times past where as a woman you are supposed to look perfect. You are supposed to. It's almost like waking up and finding different ways of making a woman's life difficult. That's what it was. And so, I mean, as a woman, you are supposed to behave in a certain way. You are not supposed to fart. You are not supposed to do things in a certain way. It's just so difficult.
Oh, yeah. Then you're not supposed to talk about your sexuality. A woman is not supposed to be a sexual being.
But even as I remember when she said something in the production room, we were like, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah!
I know, right?
Like, where did that come from?
I know, right?
I mean, it's
Right.
it's a long road. I mean,
Yeah,
and it has to do with the way people are raised.
Yeah.
Yes, because I mean, it's a barbaric act, like she put
Very,
it.
very.
It's not something that any parent should want to put their kid through.
All right.
Yes, I mean there are a lot of ways your daughter can be chased.
Yeah.
I mean,
A lot of absolutely.
Yes.
I agree with
Yes,
that. The show was Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, Mommy, you got something to say?
Yeah,
All right.
I'm looking at a news story
Okay.
that is talking about how some reformed cutters in Kenya are now protecting the next generation from female genital mutilation. Now, I read the story, and in as much as they have cut over 100,000 girls over the 30 years of life, I mean, now what they are doing is they are holding community dialogues and educating the people in the community about what the harms of FGM are.
Right.
And I think that is great.
It's good, yeah. I
For
mean, it's not too
somebody
late
to give up their ways and now be educating people on the harms of this thing, I think
mean, culture is dynamic. Obviously, you'd want to tap into the new system now and use it to reform yours. Very, very important. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me on the Africa Daily Show. And, of course, thanks to all our contributors and to you out there for listening. Let's grab this interlude. Okay, Mami.
And I want to say, I was hoping we could have talked to somebody on their experience. But people don't usually come out and talk about these things.
Yeah.
But the poem we are going to play today is an experience of a young girl who actually she came to her homeland in Africa on vacation. And then they were told, they use a certain word. Right? And they didn't know what that word was. And their mom told them, apparently the mom went through it. And their mom told them it was just a rite of passage, just like Hafiz said.
Yeah.
So they go back to their homeland and then they're forcefully circumcised.
So you don't even...
So that's her account.
Very, very nice way of putting it. And you're like, I really want to take part in that.
That's her account. And I feel like we should all pay attention to it.
Well, this is not to scare people away from coming back to the motherland, Africa. Obviously, yeah. I mean, some of them are not going back. You should, because... This is illegal now in most parts of Africa. I wonder what's happening in, is it Rwanda? Somalia, why it's still not illegal. But I think it should be, because this is not really an act that we should really encourage, especially now in the 21st century.